Welcome to Living the Sweet Life with Azucar. Living the Sweet Life with Azucar is a podcast by mental health therapist, spoken word artist, author, screenwriter, and playwright Simone Nicole, better known as Azucar, discussing what it is like to be creative in the working world in her interview segment Ask Azucar, finding solutions to any mental wellness questions in her Q&A segment Work Well Wednesdays, and spilling the tea in her special bi-weekly dating episodic Welcome to the Sugar Factory. Subscribers receive goodies on Freebie Fridays according to their tier level. Please remember to join the Sweet Teas on patreon.com/LA Sugar Factory. Here is part 2 of our interview. Enjoy.
Let's see what else. So you were talking about how you find your muses. So I'm guessing your muses for at least the poetry are the men in your life, right? What are the muses for the short stories? Because those are like like you said, what, thriller and what else? Mystery, I think.
Yeah.
So for those two, where do your muses for that come from?
So for the first one, I really loved James Patterson books when I was a kid. And I have grown into an adult who really loves true crime. So like anything like detective crime related, I'm like, yeah, I'm on that. Like, so that's what like my first story is wholeheartedly like centered on, like the detective, like the crime and the mystery and like, like the plot twists and stuff like that. Whereas the second book is actually kind of a part of, I want to say like maybe like themes of life almost. I'm 25, but this one is called like Doom of 30. And it's it's supposed to like be like
it's fun on the other side of 30. I'm just telling you. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I'm living my life the way I want to live it, and God is guiding me, period. And if you don't understand that, well, you're not supposed to, because God told me.
True. And this story is like mainly centered on like the social commentary that we have towards like turning 30, where it's like everybody assumes that it's like the end of the world. So the premise of the book is essentially like, okay, but like, what if it really was the end of the world? Like, what if you really turned 30 and nobody, like, so at the beginning of the book, there's like an excerpt where the main character talks about how maybe like 4 to 5, like, yeah, like maybe like 4 generations ago, they used to have senior citizens. He's never seen one in his life. And so they keep them in museums. And he's like, bro, like, I don't even, like, I've never seen an 80-year-old. Like, I don't know how they used to let people, like, in their 50s, like, drive, or like 90s, like, and I really sat there.
I love it already. Sign me up. Pre-order me right now. Like, I love this.
And because I really sat there and I was like, damn, like, I'm thinking we're going like, 13 going on 30 here. Like, we're excited, to be 30, flirty and thriving, but I guess not. Like, so what if we really took that and was like, okay, yeah, like you really have 29 years to do everything you need to do. And on that 30th birthday, it's clips. Nobody sees you anymore. Like, now you would sit there and now you'd be like, damn, like, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time to be able to do all the things I wanted to do, because 29 years really is not that long of a time.
It's not. I mean, when you think about it, like scientifically, our brains don't stop growing until like 27, 28.
Talk about
So
it.
are you telling me I have 2 years of adulthood and it's over? Like, hello.
And then all of a sudden you're just like, what, old? Like, okay, like, damn, like, I guess somebody got to be wrong.
I'm totally down. Oh my goodness. I can even see, like, my film brain is turning already. So like, if you're ever into like dabbling into the adaptation land, let me know, because I am like, my brain's already there.
Thank you. You know what? I will let you know when that book is finished and when it drops. I will let you know.
Oh yeah, because speaking of James Patterson, He is well loved in my family, courtesy of my mom. She's always looking for a James Patterson or a Michael Grisham, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally this morning just finished Cross, the adaptation of the Alex Cross everything. And big ups to James, because you stood 10 toes down and said my main character will be black.
Mm-hmm.
So we love you over here.
Right.
We loved you before, but we really love you now. Because you were like, nope, not whitewashing my main character because this is based on people I knew and they happen to be a black family. So thank you, Mr. James, for doing that. And if you have not seen it yet on Prime, please do, because you would like the
Is it
season.
like
I got to the end of season 1 and I was like, that
oh,
twist
season?
though.
Okay.
Like my brain is still how in the like that's diabolical. So
I'm gonna tune into it.
get you onto that. And we love Aldous Hodge on this side of the world because I continuously will watch like Leverage over and over, mainly for him because like he's just awkward and nice and cool and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here for it. Here for it. But yeah, so definitely check that out.
I will. I will.
Where do you see yourself in like let's do 5 and then 10 years? Since we did kind of get to the 30, let's kind of let's tempt fate a little bit. So where do you see in 5 and where do you see in 10?
I feel like in 5 years, I am going to have already published my poetry book, probably starting the second one. Um, or maybe like, also like publishing that as well. I do feel like Doom of 30 will be out, as well as my other book. Don't really have a title for it yet. Um, but I feel like in the next 5 years, I really want to finish those bodies of work just so I can see them like in concrete form.
Yeah.
And in the next 10 years, I would really like to be paid for my writing. Like, I tell my boyfriend this all the time. Like, I want to be like, I want my kids to explain me as like, oh, like, what does your mom do? Like, where is she? Oh, she's just home, like, writing another book. And it's like, I'm just home all day, just like writing stories, and that's it. And like, I really do not see myself at like a 9 to 5.
Hello.
And I also would not be opposed to like, oh, like my mom also goes out and she reads poetry, and currently she's about to fly to LA next week to go read poetry. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I want my kids to say that. I want my kids to say, "Oh, my mom is just flying to another film set in like Scotland or something." Like I want my kids to be able to see the breath that the written word can take you, and even the visual word can take
And on
you.
top of that, I feel like as somebody who is a creative, like it's a little bit harder than just like, because I used to be like a nursing student for like 3 years, and I love science, wanted to be like a cardiothoracic surgeon when I was a kid.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, yeah, like I already knew like everything I was supposed to do, everything that I wanted to do. And then as I got older, I feel like writing kind of just like took over me a little bit more. And now I had to like reroute and be like, I don't really feel like I'd be thoroughly satisfied having an actual career, having an actual 9 to 5. Like, I want to do this and be paid for the fact that, like, I have an imagination and I know how to utilize it. And, if any of the stories that I end up writing became like a movie or like a TV show, like, in my head, literally swimming around, I have thought about the sequel to the first book that I haven't done yet. And I already know exactly the song I want to use, like how it would go. And I'm like, I need to just get it out of my head and on paper so that way I can be like, okay, so like, can we hurry up and make this trailer? Because like this is exactly how the trailer is supposed to look. And then we could go ahead with the movie after. Like, I really want to do something that is creative. and I want to be
When
able
you're ready
to.
for that, because there's a thing called doing a little trailer so that people understand where you're trying to go, especially for people that look like us into white rooms, like most of the networks are going to be. I literally did a 3-day film conference over Zoom, global film conference, to get, figure out how to fundraise and everything like that. And they're talking about how important it is in order for us to get distribution that we have a trailer to explain stuff,
Ooh,
because
okay.
they don't understand, because they're not in our brains. So they
Yeah.
don't know, like, I have levels, like Chula Azucar is a book of love letters. But I've been asked to sell the rights to that book to create a TV show. Have I done it? No, because in my head, I already know the levels in which this book will be. Because I'm writing a volume 2 to that, first off. Second off, I know how we can transform it into both a movie, a TV show, a play, a kid's book. Like, I know the levels in which this book is going to go. So I'm not going to be sitting down here with $100,000 and you make two,
Whatever
four,
you
five, six, $20 billion off of one of my books.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you're not gonna give me a good piece of the thing that literally came from me, yeah, no, it's okay.
Sorry.
It's all right.
And if we learn anything from Mr. Tyler Perry, no relation, by the way, if we learn anything from him, and if we learn anything from who else has Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
is earning, and Oprah also. There's those three. They all earn and own their own original work.
Yeah. So that way they can always get the royalties from it.
So yeah, and that's the plan. Because we're in a country, especially right now, that is trying to continue to minimize us. And now that we have the knowledge, like Black excellence isn't a myth, it's a lifestyle. And unfortunately, it's our lifestyle because we have been taught that we have to be twice as good. So since we have to be twice as good, and once we get to twice as good and we know in ourselves that we're twice as good, we can be 4 times as good.
Damn right.
Just on a random Wednesday.
Yep.
As long as we focus. And now that we have this breadth of knowledge, and we're able to access a lot of things, if we can just be this community that we are and build off of one another and learn from one another, is that, like, Beck's Black Extraordinary is the next level. And then they can't tell us nothing because we use your setup to build us up.
And we proved it time and time again.
Definitely. So own all your royalties, own all your rights to everything. So I'm not so mad at Tyler Perry anymore that he has his name on everything. Now I understand why he has his name on everything. So yeah, but we're not gonna go on a tangent about Tyler Perry because I can do that for a long period of time. But thank you for employing my friends. I really appreciate it. Beauty in Black is awesome. Thank you for employing my friends. I just gotta say that. And so yeah, if you have that, and this is what I do too, and this is another tidbit for everybody out there, is I have a thing called Evernote. And no, they're not sponsoring me. Maybe they should, but we'll talk about that. Hopefully one day I'll get a sponsorship. But Evernote has saved my life on many occasions. I literally have notebooks, right? And each notebook is a separate idea. So I'm technically writing like 15 books at the same time, because as I come up with a poem and it goes somewhere, and I'm like, oh, where was this fit? Okay, this will fit in my David and Goliath book. Ain't nobody know about that one yet, but one of these days, right? David and Goliath book. Okay, where will this go? This will go in the sequel to one of the other books I already wrote. This will go into the movie. And so I'm able to use the notebook section of the app that's also on the computer. So you have an app on your phone and the computer that links together so you never lose anything. And yeah, it's very important. I've lost a lot of things. So I'm able to keep track of everything. So I would advise you, like, if you have your trailer already for book 2 and you haven't even finished book 1, find a separate place to put that. So like you don't ever forget it.
Gotcha.
And I like how the fact that you were talking about how you kind of wrote like phrases and would leave it and then come back to it when you can flesh it out. This is to say, like, don't ever throw anything out. Anybody that's listening to me, even if you feel like it's crap now,
It'll be useful later.
it'll be useful later, and you can transform it into something even better than when you originally thought about it.
100%.
Like trees don't grow in one day. You got to plant the seed, and if the seed's in the water and life is lifing, it's gonna grow at some point.
And like sometimes the first thing that you write down is not going to. That's what I had to learn very early on as a writer, is that like the first thing that I write down, I am not gonna love it each and every time. Like sometimes, like, you know, a couple weeks ago, I wrote a poem on the train because I tend to write poems on the train going to work. And I was trying to figure out, like what to read for like the poetry show that I was going to do in like 2 days. And my coworker was like, "Oh, you're going to a poetry show?" I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh my God, like that's so cool. Like I've never done that before. Like I'm more of like a theater kid. So like I've never had the opportunity to go to one." And so he's like, "Do you know what you're going to read?" And I handed him the poem that I think I had recently either wrote that morning or the day before. And I was like, this isn't one of my best poems. It's not to say that I do not think I don't think it's a terrible poem, but it's not a great poem, because when I wrote it, it wasn't like, oh my God, I love it. And then when he wrote it, or when he read it, he was like, oh my God, like I love it. Like I love the way that you said this, love the way that you said that. And I'm sitting here like, it wasn't even like, it took me a hot minute to even, I don't even know what the hell I just said. And you love what I'm saying right now. Which is why, like, bro, the first thing that you write, you may not like it, but if somebody else reads it, they're probably gonna be like, wow, this is like the greatest thing I've ever read. Yeah. Like, I can't believe like you were able to like, like put that into words. And at the poetry show, I did end up like getting over my fear of, when I go to poetry shows, I ruminate on like whether or not like my poem is going to fit along with the rest of the poems that are being performed. And it's
Totally
like,
understand.
I would sit there and I'm like, oh, like this isn't that great because, like it's not rhyming the way that, the last like 10 people rhymed, or, like maybe this topic isn't as heavy. So like, it's not going to hit as hard as like some of these other topics. And starting to go back into performing, I was like, you know what? I am confident and I stand behind each and every poem that I've written. And whether or not the audience feels like it's the best poem that they've ever wrote, you will listen to it and be like, wow, this is a really good poem. And I feel like I know her better as a poet and as a person because she was able to read this. And at the end of that show, one of the other poets, he was like, wow, like, like I don't want to use the word like envious because I feel like that's an evil word. But he was like, I am a little bit like, a little bit almost like surprised, or not surprised, but like I am in awe at how you can take the emotions that you feel and put them into words, because I feel like I don't do that great of a job to do that. And I thought he blew it out the park when he was doing it. I'm like, oh, like he really do this. And he was like, no, like I really appreciate how you were able to like write your lived experience like in a poem. And I really like how it sounds like a story from beginning to end. Like it's like I'm reading a story. And that changed how I go into, like poetry shows, and, how even if I switch the poem, it's not me switching it because I feel like, oh, it's not that great compared to everybody else's. It's more like I'm switching it because, I feel like this is a better representation of what I want to bring into this specific room on this specific night. And I think that this is a very good representation of the range in which I can write poetry, or the topics in which I can, portray in a different kind of light.
Yeah, that's really dope. That's really dope. And words have legs, and you never know how they'll show up. Like when I was in high school, before my first book came out, I had done this open mic. And one of my teachers came up to me and said, "Oh my God, I love this poem. You were totally talking about like me and my son." And I was like, "No, I was talking about me and God." Like, okay, if you thought it was a mother and a son or a mother and a daughter, more power to you. Like, great. But that's not where my brain was going. But I'm glad that you can relate it to something. And that's what we have to do. Like our brains, now that we're developing and now that we're in the craft more, we start to become more critical of ourselves, not realizing we are conduits for the human experience.
Yep.
And we can write it in a way that relates to us because we are writing our lived experience, but anybody that hears anything from what we're saying could trigger something else from their experience. And sometimes the universe, God, whoever you want to say, is using us to help them tap into that. Or
Yep.
help challenge them, like you were saying that poet was talking to you about, challenging them to get to another level in their life. So I say a lot, like my poems are my therapy, but sharing it is for community growth.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Like my mom, she was, to piggyback off of like the story that I had just told a couple months ago, I went to the New Yorkers like poetry like cafe, like back before like they started doing all the renovations. And I
Which
was
day
so
did you go?
Huh?
Which day were you there?
I think Friday.
So you did a slam day?
Yeah. And I made it through to, I think like maybe like the second round. And I had really wanted to perform my poem called Let's Get Better. And something in me was like, I need to read this. And I psyched myself out because I was listening to everybody else's poems. And I was like, this poem is not that good to read here.
I do that a lot too, yeah.
I switched it and I read another really good poem, which is called like Woman's History. But whenever I perform that poem, it does not get received well, even though it is a topic that every woman has gone through and every woman has, like, even if you haven't directly gone through it yourself, you have a friend, you know, who has gone through it. And I left that poetry show just feeling very like disappointed in myself because I was like, damn, like I should have performed that poem. And when I had told my mom I didn't perform it, she was like, you know, sometimes the poem is not for you. You probably were supposed to perform that poem for somebody who was listening. And because you didn't, now they essentially missed out on what you could have said on that night. And so now that's why, like I said earlier, I go through, you know, I pick whatever poems I feel like I want to read. And from there, however it lands, it lands.
Yeah. I'm starting to get into that space myself because I would never pick my set before I would get there. I would get in the vibe and I'll be like, what's good for the vibe?
Yeah.
Because I've gotten a lot because Abiodun, I love him to death. I used to go to his workshops on Sundays and I would read a few poems and be like, yeah, but there's no story here. Like you're putting all your crap out. You're just getting all your emotions out, but you're not bringing us on the emotional story. Like you have a list of emotions, but there's no like what character is saying this, like where is she going, where is he going in it. And so now I'm kind of like now that you know I've been in the game for a hot minute now, and I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm just like, I'm going to read the pieces that I feel like we as a community need here, or I'm going to read the pieces that I enjoy because I'm trying to portray a point or to like pave a way to the other things that I'm doing so that people will see like, hey, she can go from here to here. Because a lot of people thought I was the love poet because I write a lot about love.
Yeah.
I'm writing, to be honest, hand to Bible. I'm writing about love because I haven't felt it the way that I know I deserve to feel it yet. I'm in an educational space of like I'm talking about my love story because I know that I deserve the story for
Better.
love. I know I deserve the twin flame soulmate kind of thing, and I haven't found it yet. But I also want to be hopeful for everyone out there to say like, hey, it's okay to feel this way
Yep.
because everybody's telling us, we need to find somebody or we need to be in love or we don't matter unless we are in a relationship. And I'm just like, I refuse to settle for what's ugly right now. So let's go on the journey together. And because y'all don't understand, especially since I'm like making my life as a marriage and family therapist to learn about relationships and to figure out what makes them tick, I'm going to package it in a way that you can digest it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we can be better for the next generation coming forward.
Yep. A good poem, if anybody ever wants to listen to it, it's by Niall Jones and it's called Healing. You can find it on YouTube, but in poetry, I think. And that one is a phenomenal, phenomenal poem about like love, self-love, and how most of the time like they push that if you don't love yourself nobody ever will love you and blah 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 blah. And in a portion of her poem I think the line is like, because self-love may not come now or it may not come ever, but like may your love be the guardrail to like essentially like helping her find that she too deserves love from herself. And there's also like another one on button poetry. Also, you can find it on YouTube. It's called "When a Boy Tells You He Loves You," and I forgot the name of the poet, but he delivers it so well. And his topic is essentially like like when a boy tells you he loves you, like sometimes like their actions just do not match up to what they say. And it's like,
Yeah.
do not be so quick to jump just because he says he loves you.
Right.
And, recognize that like he is just a boy. Like he's not anybody else but just and in his words, he said he's just I think like either like a sad, simple boy. Like, and it's so powerful because it's just like, damn, like he's really just a boy. Like, and it reminds me of that TikTok where it's like, what did she say? She's like, he's just a boy. Hit him with your car. You don't love him. And it's like, yes, like he's just a boy. They're just a person.
Yeah. Okay, so my last question for you will be, who do you think or who do you ever want to collaborate with? Like, who's your dream collaboration since you do stage and since you kind of write other things? Is there anybody that you wanted to like work with that you haven't got a chance yet?
Nobody has ever actually asked me that question.
Try to
So,
have at least one of those questions every episode.
um, I don't have anybody in specific, but what I will say is that I feel like I am open to working with anybody who I'm open to working with anybody. Like I'm open to new experiences. Like I'm open to learning more about how, like writing is a career and like there's different avenues that you can go down with like creativity and it's not just like, oh, I'm a writer so I just write books, you know, like I'm a writer, so or like I'm a poet and I just do slam poetry. Like it's more to it. And I feel like I'm also learning more how to network because for the last couple of years of my life, like I really could not get a grasp on how to network and like the point of networking, because I was like, you know what, if I'm talented on my own, I should be able to get in those rooms without having to need like 6, 7 other people that I know of. But recently I just realized that like I went to a poetry show, and after that poetry show, like I had so many people like being like, "Oh, like I would love to see you at this poetry show to come and perform." Like, "Oh, like you should come here. Oh, I have a poetry show on this day. Like, you know, can you come on this day?" And it's like whatever leads me to my next big opportunity, I am open to it. I'm open to, you know, collaborating. Like I've never written a poem with somebody else, but I'm open to trying that. Like I'm open to, you know, I'm just open to whatever. Like I'm open to figuring out like how I can turn writing into a, you know, legitimate and like lucrative career going forward.
I'm always here. I love co-writing. I've written some cool Spanglish poems.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, back in like I was deep in it. Like Santos, Taino, my whole heart. Like, yeah. It was some good stuff. We did some good stuff. Um, but oh, I did have a question before we end. I do want to ask this because you said that you did nursing for a while. So how was that transition conversation? How, like, either with yourself or with your family, and what are the tidbits that you can give for other writers who discovered it after, you know, doing the respectable thing?
Um my family, it actually wasn't necessarily a conversation per se. I grew up playing lacrosse, and it was actually an idea from my high school lacrosse coach, Mama Rose. And she has now been gone for like maybe like 4 or 5 years now. So there wasn't really like a conversation to be had. It was more of like a guilt that I had to come to terms with, I guess, because not also another poem that I had written. There's a line in there that's like, you know, I am learning to essentially like be okay with the fact that like everything I wanted isn't like everything that is actually for me. Um,
Mm,
and that also goes for like, you know, career choices, you know, like in college I really was just like, oh, like I just like writing and I just want to publish this book. Like that's all I want to do. Like, and I would sit in the back of my nursing classes, headphones on, like I would teach myself like the stuff like after class, like visually. And I would be sitting there on my laptop just like typing away, writing like scene after scene after scene. And all my friends would be like, Shima, like, why are you here? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I I need money like after school. Like, and they'd be like, no, like, why are you like a nursing major? And I'm like, because like I want to go to med school after this. And they were like, yeah, but like all you do is write. Like you do know that like you could have been like a writing major. And I was like, you know what? That never crossed my mind. Like that was never a thought before you just said this. And when I had finally made the decision to be like, you know what? As much as it would be fulfilling to be a nurse, like the schedule is not where I see myself. Like I had said, like I see myself as like I don't want my kids to be like, oh yeah, you know, like my mom's at work, she's gonna be there for like the next like 12 hours. Like I want them to be like, oh yeah, like she's home and she's like writing something, and it's like, oh, like she's writing something that she thought about, yeah, like, and she's fleshing it out, and you know she's on like her fourth book and it's doing this and doing that. And I think I just craved more of the flexibility that
yeah.
creativity has. And it's like not every day is the same. And I'm not saying that we're nursing every day is the same, because that's not true. Like, it's more than enough to be like, oh, you know, like this patient just came in, this is what you have to do. But I feel like with creativity, there's more room for error, and there's more room for you to like really like stretch yourself out just a little bit. Whereas like in nursing, you have to get everything right. Or you have to, like, in terms of like, you know, giving medications and, you know, like handling certain like heavy situations, because now you're also dealing with like family members going through like a really tough time probably. So it's like, I think I just prefer to be on the other end of the spectrum in terms of like choosing my hard. And my parents and everybody was like, you know what, as long as you find out, and as long as you are fulfilled and you find a way to be successful in your own right, it's not my life. Like, you know, as long as you figure out how to do that, and if you feel fulfilled in what you do. If I said tomorrow I wanted to be Van Gogh, my mom would be like, okay, so like, have you started painting? Like, did you, like, what are you doing? Like, you want to be a fashion designer? Did you sew some clothes? Like, what are you going to do about that? Like, so yeah, it wasn't as hard as I had anticipated it to be.
Because that's a big thing, because a lot of us don't have it like that. Like just now, my mom is on board. Because I told her I met Spike Lee, and she's like, "Did you send him your script?" And I was like, "Mom, that's not how it works." But like the fact that it came from her, like unsolicited, I was like, "Whoa, okay, we've gotten to the other side.
Yeah.
We've gotten to, oh, maybe my daughter will be, and she can be." And oh, her friends are doing this. Oh, so those are her friends, and she actually knows them. And like, so like the community is actually, you know, prospering. And so
Mm-hmm.
her turn will come.
Yep.
Right. So like, yay for you. Like,
And
yay,
yay for you
yay.
too.
Thank you. So like that's inspiring to me to say like, okay, so there is a phase where it could be cool
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, they'll understand, and they'll be like, all right, so what are you doing for it? And once they, you know, see the work going towards it, and like, oh, okay, so it's not just a fly by night thing, like this
Yeah.
has been fleshed out and thought about, and all right, we can relax and not like she's gonna go hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it's funny that you had that story of your friends telling you like, why are you here? Like literally in the one of the first psychology classes when I no, yeah, my master's degree. When I was getting my first master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
um, we had career counseling. They always do that in the beginning just to make like just so that you kind of know like for yourself, but also so you can know how to spot for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did the Myers-Briggs, and we did all the other like the strong tests and all this other stuff. And mine came back like artist and writer, and they're like, what are you doing here?" Like literally, that's literally like, so what are you doing here? Like, because they knew I already had a book out. I was
Mm-hmm.
working on my second one. So like, what are you doing here? I said to them, I'm like, I love psychology. I need to figure out how to help my family. And that's why I'm here. And now I know why I was there. It was so that I can like, because in my mind, once I saw Inside Out,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, I know my path. Like between Inside Out and In the Heights, I know where I'm going. I know what I'm trying to do. Like I know what I'm trying to make everything digestible. I'm trying to create a body of work that is inspiring and that is empowering and that will better this world. And so going to school and realizing like, hey, like I love psychology, I love understanding people, but that also brought into my characters.
Yeah.
I'm able to flesh my characters out better. I'm able to give you real life stuff. Like I don't have to be like Finch. I'm have you heard the story about Finch
From what's the
from
book
Grey's
called?
Anatomy?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm putting this out there because I am a Grey's Anatomy geek. And like I've been a Grey's Anatomy geek from day one, scene one, episode one. And when I heard about Finch, my heart dropped because I felt like, oh well, now I can't be a writer on Grey's Anatomy because they're gonna think I'm finching stuff. But in a matter of it, it's like because I wrote an episode in film school for Grey's Anatomy because they said we got to write on spec and learn what spec is. Wrote an episode of Grey's Anatomy in film school during the middle of Grey's Anatomy break. When Grey's Anatomy came back, kid you not, like the first episode when it came back was pretty much almost what I had written in school. And I didn't like this, like I was just writing out of my feeling because it was, mid-season break. And I was like, well, if they're going to keep this storyline, what would I think the storyline would be? And when I was watching the show after my semester ended, and I watched the show and I was like, I know they weren't in my bedroom. Like there's no cameras in here. Like I'm literally watching it and I'm like, okay, so that's like page 2 of my script. And like these two got into a fight like I wrote. It might have been the dialogue exactly, right? But like the sentiment and the progress of the story, I was like, okay, if I can do that in the middle of first semester of film school, like I can do this. And so it's like, I want to take, since you were like a nursing student, so I, again, push you again a little bit to see how that can incorporate into the other writings that you do. Because what I am going to do for you and for the subscribers, if y'all feel like putting a little bit in the Patreon, is through this interview, I wrote down the fact that you wanted to be a cardiothoracic, right?
Yeah,
cardiothoracic surgeon. What? Say it again.
So it's a cardiothoracic surgeon. So it's just a heart and lung surgeon.
Yeah. So I have a signature poem because as a psychologist, I have a signature poem about the brain.
Ooh.
But it's combining love and the brain together. So I want to write for you because I like to challenge myself, and I thought this was a cool challenge to do something around the heart, the lungs, and love.
Okay.
So if anybody's interested in wondering how that process is going to go after this episode, drop a little thing in the Patreon, drop a little DM in there, and yeah. But I will be giving it to Shima for free, but the rest of y'all are going to have to pay a little bit for it.
Thank you for listening to Living the Sweet Life with Azucar. Check us out on Instagram at La Vida Dulce Pod and at LA Sugar F on Twitter, and join the Sweet Teas crew on our Patreon to get behind the scenes access, exclusive first looks, and customized Azucar Welcome to the Sugar Factory merch. Check out our website, sweetlifewithazucar.libsyn.com, and don't forget to DM us at La Vida Dulce Pod for your questions for the Work Well Wednesday segment. See you next week with Welcome to the Sugar Factory and the next installment of Sugary Scandal and Entanglements.